Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Steven Osentoski here of MaizenBrew, bringing you another episode of Freshman Feature. We're up to episode 6. Today we're covering 3-star strong side defensive end out of Olney, Maryland, Kris Jenkins. You can find the previous episode of Freshman Feature in the description below. Have a link to the playlist in the icon above. As always, make sure you leave a comment below on who you want to see in the next episode. We're getting close to the season, only a few more recruits to cover. I'll leave a list of available guys right up here for you. Thanks to this fine gentleman for his suggestion of Kris Jenkins. I did see a couple suggestions for Jalen Harrell. Don't worry, he is on his way. That video's in the works, but let me know who else you guys want to see. Without further ado, let's get into episode 6. Kris Jenkins is out of Our Lady Good Counsel High School in Maryland. It's a powerhouse high school. He helped the team win the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference Championship as a senior, co-captain his senior year as well. He was named All-Conference Co-Defensive Player of the Year, as well as first team all-conference as a senior. He earned second team all-conference as a junior. Other notable players out of Our Lady Good Counsel High School: Blake Countess, former Michigan cornerback, as well as standout NFL players Stephon Diggs and Kendall Fuller. Throw his stats up on the screen here. As a senior, he had 40 tackles, 19 tackles for loss, 15 sacks, 5 pass breakups, a handful of forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. As a junior, 70 tackles, 10 socks? He had 10 socks his junior year, 10 sacks, and 2 blocked kicks. No metrics I could find. Let's skip right ahead to his rankings here. Services all have him as a 3-star. 247's having a weird issue where their individual rankings, they aren't showing them on the national level, so I'm just making an approximation of his national ranking around 500. The other two services do not give him a national ranking, but Rivals is the highest on him as a strong side defensive end in their top 20, 16 in Maryland for Rivals. ESPN by far the least bullish on him at 53 strong side defensive end and outside the top 20 for Maryland. 247 is in the middle of the road, closer to 20 at 25 strong side defensive end and 20 in Maryland. That brings his composite just outside the top 500 and around 20 for both overall strong side defensive ends and Maryland as well. He's listed at 6'4", 239. ESPN had him as a little shorter and a little lighter, so take that for what it is. Looking at his recruitment, so his father is Kris Jenkins Sr., the Ypsilanti native. He played 10 years in the NFL, second-round pick out of Maryland, and a 2-time All-Pro defensive tackle. He also had an uncle who was a pro prospect, played at Bellevue High with his brother, which would be Kris Jenkins Sr. The uncle went to Central Michigan, 14 seasons in the NFL, mostly at Green Bay, and he was a defensive end, defensive tackle, hybrid sort of type of player. So the draw of Michigan held plenty of weight given both father and uncle were from the state of Michigan. He didn't want to be leaning toward one school. Being back around Michigan where he was a kid gave him goosebumps, something that was easy to overcome. The other school in play was Maryland. That was the other school to beat out Legacy for his dad. Other offers include Northwestern, Penn State, Purdue, Rutgers, Iowa, Indiana, as well as the lower end of the Big Ten, Michigan State. That is just a joke, but most of the Big Ten was in play, at least middle tier, with Penn State and Michigan obviously standing out amongst that group, Iowa as well. Outside of the Big Ten, you have Kansas, North Carolina, Air Force, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Temple, and then you have some high academic schools in there as well, Vanderbilt, Duke, and Yale. So obviously with the Northwestern, as well as those 3 I just mentioned, and Michigan, high academic guy. Looking at his scouting, so there's a good amount of scouting, and the scouting doesn't really match with his rankings. So let's look at some comments from Brian Doan from 247. Long with a good frame for defensive end, he carries weight really well. He gets off the snap quickly, he gets up the field really well. Solid knee bend, which allows for low pad level. He crashes inside well, can combine moves while rushing the passer, speed to gain the edge. He also has the stack and shed ability there with his frame. Instinctual, plays with good energy, moves really well laterally, good body control, athletic, explosive off corner. And he could be a defensive end in a 4-3 or an outside linebacker in a 3-4. So some positional variety there. Things that he can improve on: he must continue to develop more upper body strength. He could learn more extensive interior pass rush moves. Continue to work on some of that upper body flexibility. The locals regard him a bit better than his rankings say. A lot of the local 247 guys placed him in the top 10 of local prospects to watch going into his senior year. And that was when he was just picking up some of his larger offers, those middle of the tier Big Ten offers He himself, Kris Jenkins himself, says he needs to improve in his run contain, that he needs to ensure he's not overrunning when he's getting upfield. So that's good to see a player who recognizes their weaknesses. And, I just listed off 20 plus strengths. So he's overall a pretty high floor prospect from what people are saying. He won defensive line MVP at the Penn State Big Man Challenge in June of 2019. So let's jump right into his film. That's really good scouting to see. Let's see how it translates to his film here. All right, let's look at his pass rush skill set first. So he shows good speed and bend around the outside. I mentioned that a couple times in the scouting reports. That holds true in his film here as well. Most of this is from his senior year. I did see a bit of improvement between his junior and senior year. So his first step here is solid. I wouldn't say it's the quickest first step, but he gets upfield quickly. Plenty well enough. It isn't a negative by any stretch of the imagination. So thing I really like to see, advanced hand usage. So he's able to swipe hands away very effectively from offensive linemen, and coordination of hand usage with the opponent's momentum. That's very effective, and he uses that very well. He has some nice little inside to outside moves there as well. So he's not strictly a speed guy on the outside. He's able to switch it up a bit, which is always good to see. And he does have the ability to bull rush as well. So he's, like I said, he's not a guy who will always go to the outside. He's able to power through, shoot up the gap with kind of outside faking and to a main inside rush. There are a few times that I would like him to hit the quarterback a little bit more head on where he's holding them up, but when he does get a full on hit, he is bringing the lumber. So overall, it's a really good package to work with. A few clips on his pass deflections here. So it's good to see overall when, maybe the offensive lineman wins a rep, he's still keeping his eyes in the backfield. Don't give up just because you're not getting to the QB, and he seems to be doing that well. That shows good awareness on the defensive line. Keeps fighting, gets his hands up, and again, just instincts to coordinate that at the right time. He almost picked off that screen pass right there, but this is just good to see that he's a guy who's engaged throughout the play, regardless of if he's getting into the backfield or not. So good. This shows good instincts and overall good discipline as a defensive line prospect. All right, some general run defense clips here. So I like his overall technique when the play is going away from him. So if the play is going to the opposite side, he does well to break down and run down the line of scrimmage really well. He accelerates quickly, but I like his footwork there. I like his, he does show the ability to have patience there, and he has the athleticism to make up space if the play is going away from him. So he's still a little bit undersized for the position if he's going to be a true defensive end. Obviously at 235 or 240, he'll need to bulk up a bit, but that'll be necessary when he has pulling guards coming to his side. But overall, I like his pursuit. He's not the most explosive guy when tackling, like I said, but it gets the job done. Again, I like how he runs down the line of scrimmage. It appears that he takes good angles. He's well in tune with his skill set, and his hands obviously come up quite a bit here as well. So really good shoestring tackle at the end there as well. So overall, I like his run support package as well. Looking at his stack and shed ability, one of my favorite areas of his I mentioned is his advanced hand technique, and that really shows here where he's able to engage the blocker, extend his arms, and chuck the blocker away from him. So that ability to disengage, that's really important. Either as an outside linebacker, it would come up more. You'd call it a push-pull if you're a defensive end, but he pairs that well with his footwork, and it seems that he knows momentum really well, how to play off of the blocker's momentum. So he has a really good frame for that skill set. Add in advanced technique with hand usage, and you're good. A couple plays here for fumbles, either where he's causing a fumble. I think this first one is the one where he takes it back for a touchdown. So good athleticism here, running in space. But overall, he does have a tendency to rip the ball out of carriers' arms. There's plenty of clips here outside of this section alone where he's swiping at the ball during a tackle. And that's advanced technique, right? You have the tackle secured, go for the ball. That's something that you're always trying to teach. So for him to come into Michigan with that skill set already, that instinct already there, it's good to see. On this play especially, he gets a holding call against him and then causes a fumble on the quarterback there. So again, it's something where it's hard to teach, but he's already got that skill set, and it happens quite a bit, so it's good to see. Then 2 blocked field goals here. Again, with his long arms, his athleticism, he could be a plus field goal block team unit here. All right, so for his comp, I have Taylor Upshaw here. So he's the legacy strong side defensive end out of high school, now at Michigan. He's a redshirt sophomore. He was 6'5", 240, so a little bit taller than Kris Jenkins out of high school. He was right around 500th nationally, a 3-star out of high school as well. Upshaw did start football late despite being a legacy, so that's a little bit of a difference where Jenkins has always been a football guy. Both kind of had an extensive offer list. Upshaw's was a bit more impressive than what we see for Kris Jenkins, but both have clear upside with NFL bloodlines and overall athleticism to make it at the position. We've still yet to see Upshaw in meaningful snaps. He did get some time last year, but he's expected to start behind Hutchinson as a redshirt sophomore this year, and he does have a ton of upside. He's been getting some chatter from the coaches, so he is still listed on Michigan's website at 6'4", 240. So he was a guy coming in who Michigan could have potentially saw as a guy to move in at 3-tech, or just depending on his size where he goes. But at least out of high school, it's pretty close to what you're seeing out of Kris Jenkins. You got the athleticism, you got the legacy, you have some sort of positional variety. For Upshaw, it was more, I've only played football for a couple of years. We'll see where we grow. And Kris Jenkins is more of I have kind of the frame to grow into a defensive tackle type, but we'll see. Moving on to projection here. So he's got range from a 3-4 outside linebacker, even down to nose tackle if he really gets a big growth spurt here. So it depends how he fills out. So as a swing player, I think that's why you see his lower ranking. I think if he was more of a true defensive end, he would be a solid 4-star. I like his skill set. He has a pretty solid skill set coming in, and I think he's projected by 247 to be a late draft pick. If I'm misspeaking this, I'll put a note that I'm dumb on the screen. But given that he's tough to pin down right now, that explains some of the lack of high rankings for him. I think a 3-tech or even a nimble nose would be the best path to playing time for him. Obviously, interior defensive tackles with high athleticism are hard to create, so that would definitely be a position of need for Michigan always, but it would be one that hopefully Kris Jenkins could fill. But obviously it depends. How will he grow? He's only 240 right now at 6'3". If he shoots up an inch and puts on 60 pounds, you could see him there. Redshirt year is almost a guarantee. My guess is his first shot at contribution would be 2022. As a redshirt freshman, he might still be a little bit too green and still growing into what his eventual role would be. So not only do I think he has more upside than most guys around his ranking in the 500 range, I think he has the highest floor as well. He brings a ton of positional flexibility there, but his skill set, his technique, his explosiveness, he brings a lot of things that you really like to see at the position. It's just a matter of where rather than if for him. So I'm really excited about Kris Jenkins. I think he's a great get, and for being one of Michigan's lower ranked guys out of the 2021 class, I'm surprised at how much I liked the film that I saw. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. So again, no poll for this one. For the next video, YouTube disabled that functionality, but let me know in the comments who you want to see for the next episode. Beyond that, guys, make sure you throw a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, stay safe out there, wash your hands, and as always, go blue.